GALXBOY is currently one of the biggest fashion brands in South Africa. It was created in 2008 by a young boy who entered the t-shirt market with an idea of only being playful. He started the business from his bedroom playing with just a computer. Little did he know, we're starting a brand called GALXBOY, would later make him to be a millionaire by the age of 24 when he had changed it to GALXBOY. He in fact had no idea that in South Africa, GALXBOY would be the clothing brand that would compete with brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. From making only few thousand rands a month to making about 5 million rands a year. The truth of how we achieved this is absolutely crazy, as it involves him deliberately destroying his own business just to cut ties with his toxic investors. Unfortunately, this is not a direct success story, as he almost lost his brand twice. This is a story of GALXBOY, a South African owned luxury fashion brand. Thakiso Dube, known as Vuitton, shortened as Tot, was born in 1990 on the 12th of March to a warm family in Pretoria, but in the eastern part of it, a township called Mamelodi East. His family was of both working parents, a middle class for short. His passion for clothes developed early in his childhood. This was because his parents used to dress him up a lot when he was younger. As he grew up, his parents decided to put him through good schools. He went to La Montagne Primary School, then later went to high school in Cornerstone College. Upon growing up, Tot was an introverted child in nature, but however, at this time in Cornerstone College, he had managed to make a couple of friends. Because Cornerstone College was a private school, most of the friends that he had made were from well-off families. Unlike him, these were the kids who had computers and internet in their own home, rather than most in other high school who only saw computers on TVs or magazines. However, while still in Cornerstone College, something happened. His father moved to a sub-town called Centurion for work. One of his closest friends from school was a rapper from Centurion, which is the same town where his father had moved to. So, in 2008, when he was starting his matric, Tot decided to go to live with his father in Centurion. You see, Tot didn't know anything related to internet, computers and luxury fashion brands. His friend from Centurion later introduced him to another rapper, a rapper called Anatii, one of the biggest South African artists right now. Tot then became friends with Anatii, who then introduced him to fashion, computers and internet. Because Anatii was a big deal at the time, he was sponsored by Amagipgip, which was one of the biggest clothing brands from South Africa. After a short while, Tot was amused to find out that Amagipgip was actually a local clothing brand from South Africa. He actually thought all clothing brands were from outside the country. Brands like Nike, Reebok, Adidas, Gucci and Louis Vuitton. This awareness about local clothing brands would become the obsessive thought that would be stuck with him for the rest of his life. After a few weeks of thinking about Amagipgip, Tot asked his father to buy him a computer. His father bought it for him as it made sense because he was in matric. Tot spent the next few weeks learning the computer until he stumbled upon a design software called Paint. He started to fiddle with it to later create his first logo and his first t-shirt in his matric year 2008. He named his first t-shirt GALXBOY. You see, because Cornerstone College, majority of the students were from rich families, they liked the t-shirt because it was simply relating to them, as the term cheese is a South African local meaning for someone who's from a rich background. He then produced multiple t-shirts of GALXBOY, which sold out quickly amongst the boys. Because the girls felt left out in the name as it was GALXBOY, they then asked Tot to make a female version of it, Cheese Girl, which he produced, but to avoid confusion, he simply rebranded his brand to be called GALXBOY. He then felt that the name GALXBOY was a long name. He decided to remove the cheese from the name, which led to the name that we know today as GALXBOY. GALXBOY became successfully famous amongst his peers in his hometown as well as in his school. In 2008, Tots passed his matric to later start his first year at the University of Pretoria in 2009. That's why he enrolled in internal auditing degree. His brand was still a musical tone in the streets. You see, because his brand was mostly influenced by the hip-hop culture, he asked his famous friends like Anati for a slot to sell his products in their big events. With that, he made about 500 caps and other merchandises. He took them to those events where he gave the attendees for free in exchange for their picture wearing the caps for a Facebook post. This increased the brand awareness further. At this time, he had a lot of support, so he decided to host his own social events, which were called VIP. These events went on yearly and seasonally, with young peers gathering at the venue and having all-night parties. You see, the number of attendees increased so much so that they started to cause chaos in those events. The last event he had hosted ended up with thieves stealing people's phones, breaking properties and leaving dead all over. He decided to stop the events altogether as they were costing him more money to replace what was broken. Almost immediately upon stopping these events, his t-shirt business also started to rapidly decline. So, from 2009 till 2011, as if life would give him a break, his studies started to suffer too. He couldn't complete the degree he had started. This led him to decide to drop out of university by the end of 2011. His parents were angry at him for his decision. He simply made a promise to his parents and said, "If I don't make it in fashion in 2012, I'll go back to school." This would be the statement from his mouth that would change his life forever. It's the beginning of 2012. Tots is now penniless and his brand has shattered. His parents are also disappointed. But you see, Keep had massive sales at the time Tots knew about it in 2008. But by the time it was 2012, the sales had reached equilibrium. So the Keep owner, Nkosana Modise, offered Tots a design position as he knew that Tots had an experience with GALXBOY, with a salary of 3,000 rands a month. Tots asked for a different token of appreciation instead. He said, "I will work for you without any salary, but in exchange of you teaching me your methods of how you produce these clothes, in terms of the quality and also where you outsource them from." Nkosana agreed. Tots worked tirelessly without any salary at Keep for 3 months. In April, Nkosana said to him, "It's time for me to show you how I do this." Nkosana took Tots with to China. This was where the Keep was producing their clothes. After the Keep designs were done, Nkosana offered an opportunity to Tots to submit his designs right on the spot. So upon arrival in South Africa, his contract with Keep ended. But a few weeks later, his samples from China were delivered. He was so shocked at how good the quality was. In fact, he was so impressed as the samples were still intact even after multiple washes. As time passed by, in August, he had already calculated how much he would need and how many items he would need for his relaunch. Because of being broke, his friend called Stelo offered him a lump sum of 100,000 rands in cash. He then flew to China alone this time. He got the clothes in bulk and came back to sell again. You see, when he was working at Keep, he had met many more famous artists and made connections with. Now it was easier for him to sell, as he went back to selling the products at the big events which were hosted by those celebrity friends. This led to massive sales and also high demand of his product. So, from mid-2012 to mid-2014, GALXBOY regained its street credit. Unfortunately, this growth would be the one to lead him to another dark journey again. Now it was clear that Tots everything in control again. But he had one problem though. He didn't have a storage for his products and he couldn't continue selling from his car trunk. Two businessmen saw this opportunity and offered him a funding to launch a store. Their demand was that the store has to be now registered under CIPC and also make them both shareholders. Todds agreed. The new partners said they will deal with their side of the business only, while Todds will only do the product management and also designs only. The store was launched in Hatfield, Pretoria by July 2014. On the pop-up day, the store sold out, making about 100,000 rands on that day. This would be a continuous cycle of sales for almost every day. With this growth, by 2017, Todds had made it to the headlines for his first million rands by the age of 24. This was because the store was making 2 to 5 million rands a year. As the store sales went up, the toxicity of his partners started to emerge. They started to tell him on how to design, as well as what he shouldn't do. They basically started to micromanage him, as they were the investors to start with. At this time, Todds was so furious as he couldn't fire them as they had an agreement. Because of that, Todds did the unimaginable. He decided to kill his brand in order to chase the investors away indirectly. He started making poor designs. He tampered with the store operations, not paying staff, not paying rent, leading to the store becoming indebted with taxes. With few months of these debts, GALXBOY decided to close the store. To finish him off, the toxic partners took the remaining products and decided to sell them online for their own gain. With these toxic investors playing him dirty like this, they wouldn't know that this would be the preparation for the next journey for Todds for his new success. You see, the toxic partners had other businesses. Their profiles were now being tainted by the debts which were incurred by GALXBOY, meaning they couldn't do other businesses unless their names were rubbed off from the brand. This made them to legally cut ties with GALXBOY around 2018 to 2019, making GALXBOY back to its owner. From this separation, Todds was happy and had his creative mind back. In 2020, he then started to study an online course called Luxury Fashion Management, which taught him how to run his brand like a luxury fashion brand in reference to Gucci and Louis Vuitton. He took inspiration from both brands, then he decided to make inspired design products like theirs, but at a lower price comparatively. He made wide range product choice for everyone, like t-shirts, caps, bags, sunglasses and jewelry, as well as shoes. His brand then started to gain traction again at a formal level, making heavy sales as an affordable luxury fashion brand in South Africa. The brand now has a successful online store and physical stores. The physical stores are in mainland Pretoria, Willow Park Pretoria, Bloemfontein, as well as newly launched stores in Cape Town, Limpopo and Witbank. Because of the high trend of luxury fashion brands in South Africa like Gucci and Louis Vuitton, many opted to buy GALXBOY as the designs were similar to those of Gucci and Louis Vuitton. This traction led him to be sponsored by big brands like MTV, Castlelight, Nedbank, as well as Jägermeister to name a few. In a big song of Late aka called Lemonade, the rapper in his lyrics said, "GALXBOY, that's culture," making the brand more famous.